Nya, 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 nya.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to the Geek Suite. I'm your host, the one and only Kid Nerd Bean, and we're back for another episode of Angry Nerd Rant Time. If you're new to this channel, be sure to hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our Geek Suite content. And for those of you who are continued watchers, thank you for watching. Also, be sure to hit like and subscribe. I can see in the analytics that most of my viewers are not subscribed. And today's Angry Nerd Rant is Harry Potter themed. Finally, all these videos where I make these references and haven't done a single one of Harry Potter. Alright, my lovelies, the subject for today's Angry Nerd Rant is Harry Potter franchise, and more specifically, Dobby the House Elf and how he got shafted during this filming of the series. Oh, and I guess spoiler warning for the books and the movies if you haven't seen all of them yet. Like my sister refuses to watch the last movie because then that means it's over, even though we have the prequel series with Fantastical Beasts and Where to Find Them, but you know, to each their own. Alright, so for those who maybe didn't read the books, Dobby in the movies only really appears in the second film where he is a main part of the plot to help Harry keep him away from Hogwarts and discover the Chamber of Secrets, and then at the end of the movie, Harry frees him and he becomes Harry's bestest friend in the whole wide world, at least according to Dobby. And then we don't see him at all until the very end of these Book 7 movies, The Deathly Hallows, where he, randomly shows up and saves Harry and his friends from Malfoy Manor and then dies tragically. And the fact that they cut out a lot of his plot really just takes away from the severity of his death and what it means to Harry and everyone around him when it finally happens. So, how did they do Dobby dirty, you ask? Thank you. I will tell you. So, Dobby isn't just this, random character who appears in, like, Harry's greatest times of need, like a fairy godmother. He's there, from book 2 onward. He doesn't go anywhere. And so the fact that they really minimize his character minimizes the significance of his death. So we're going to go over, and I'm going to look at my notes, to see what actually they cut out and how significant a character Dobby was supposed to be, because he was one of my favorite characters in the books, and I was devastated watching his death on screen. Like, I even went to the not Universal Studio, the Warner Brothers studio tour in London and got my picture taken with the, like, life-size cutout of model of Dobby, which I will put a picture of here. Alright, so we're looking at what they left out of the books, or what they delegated to other characters, much like they did with Ron, and how that really just ruined Dobby's significance as a character in the films. So just right off the bat from book 2, he didn't just randomly appear to ruin Harry's life. Like, this, we do get one scene of him in the infirmary with Harry where he, like, punishes himself and admits to sending the bludger. But what we don't see, and, this one's more reasonable because they had to cut it for time. I mean, these movies were already 3 hours long. But Dobby doesn't just appear the once in the infirmary. Pretty much from that point on, anytime Harry and his friends end up in the hospital wing, Dobby's there taking care of them. Whether or not Madame Pomfrey's busy, he's always making sure that Harry's got what he needs. Harry and his friends, because they're the bestest people ever. Because Dobby's the bestest ever. Yeah, and so after he gets freed, he gets a job, which is rare for house elves, and there's a whole shady way that house elf slavery works in the wizarding world, and we're going to do another video about that, which, when it's available, will be linked either in the description section down below, or you'll find something here. So Dobby gets a job at Hogwarts, and he works in the kitchens, and, haggles with Dumbledore over his pay, and eventually, by book 5, is the only house elf cleaning the Gryffindor Tower because of Hermione's anti-elf slavery campaign, Spew. Just gonna stop for some coffee. Doing one of these early morning shoots. Okay, so we've mentioned that what they cut out a lot of in book 2 was that his repeated care for Harry in the hospital wing, and then in book 3 where he reappears and gets a job at Hogwarts, and is just seen throughout the castle. Again, anytime Harry or someone is in the hospital wing, Dobby's typically there. And then in book 4, for the Triwizard Tournament, it's actually Dobby who, under the direction of fake Aleister Moody, gets the gillyweed to give to Harry for his trial. It's not Neville. And we also see in book 4 that Dobby gets a girlfriend named Winky. And his whole storyline with Winky is very cute and very sad, and it gives us a look into the world of the life of house elves that we really just don't get from the representations of Dobby and Creature in the films. And like I mentioned briefly, upon learning about house elf slavery, Hermione becomes instantly horrified and takes up the early SJW stance and forms the group SPEW, SPEW, which is for the Society for Protection of Elvish Welfare. And all of the elves at Hogwarts find it very offensive, which is part of the slavery charm that they're under, which again, we'll be talking about in a different video. But Hermione's efforts involve her taking up knitting and leaving little hats and scarves and socks all over the Gryffindor common room in an attempt to free the elves. And since the elves who are cleaning Gryffindor Tower found this very offensive, it ended up being only Dobby who was cleaning the entire tower by himself, and he was collecting these little hats and socks. And you see his characterization in little drawings in the books where he's wearing, 6, 7, 8 hats at a time and wearing all the scarves and gloves that Hermione's leaving him while he's doing this, because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings or minimize her efforts and wants to show how grateful he is for her knitting these things for him and his elven brethren. We also see during books like 4 and 5, when Christmas time comes around, that Dobby's a part of the gift exchange for Harry and Ron and Hermione. He gives Harry a pair of mismatched socks with his mentality of, well, why would I wear 2 of the same when I can show that I have 1 of each? And so we really miss out on this closeness to Harry's inner circle that he has. I mean, they do this with Neville too. Neville is a lot closer to Harry's inner circle, as opposed to just this random geeky kid among the outcasts who comes in sometimes to get that extra 10 points so Gryffindor can win the House Cup. No, Neville's a significant character, and they did this a lot to save time, I guess. I'm not really sure why. For a better analysis of what they changed from book to show, check out the Dom's videos, which I will leave in a link in the description section down below. We also see that, again, instead of it being Neville who, discovers the Room of Requirement by accident, it's Dobby who tells Harry and his friends in Dumbledore's army about the Room of Requirement so that way they can practice their spellcraft and defense against the dark arts. And the reason that he knows about the Room of Requirement is because that's where he's hiding his girlfriend once she's freed as a punishment from her family. So again, Dobby's a big part of this. He's not just, some random Harry Potter diehard. No, he's part of the group, and he helped form Dumbledore's army and keep them secret. And it's Dobby who warns Harry and his friends that the Inquisitorial Squad and Umbridge are coming to blow the Room of Requirement open to stop Dumbledore's army from existing. So again, he's ride or die from the moment he meets Harry. He doesn't just disappear and then come back randomly. Alright, moving on to book 6, things that they missed. Dobby never questions Harry's sanity or his state of mind or of any of the reasons for the things that he does or the things that he asks Dobby to do for him. Whereas in the 6th book, Harry is convinced that Draco is a Death Eater and has a full-on... Sorry, there's someone outside. Hello? So he's fully convinced that Draco is a Death Eater and is obsessed with spying on him and getting his proof, to the point where everyone around him thinks he's crazy, except for Dobby, because Dobby loves Harry Potter and is his best friend and trusts his judgment. And I mean, Harry is right, but that doesn't mean that, he wasn't crazy. And he has Dobby go and spy on Draco for a significant portion of the book. There's one moment where, he runs into Dobby and he's like, oh, well, what did you find? And he's like, nothing, sir. And Dobby hasn't slept in 3 or 4 days because he's just been round the clock following Draco, figuring out what it is that he's doing. And he does it all for his love for Harry. So when we get to the 7th book and we get to Dobby and his actions and saving Harry and his friends at the behest of Aberforth Dumbledore, who sees Harry in the mirror. All of the events that have accumulated up to this point make Dobby a very near and dear person to Harry's heart, which is why when Dobby saves them and then dies, Harry is heartbroken and insists on giving Dobby a proper burial with no magic. And it's this treatment of Dobby that endears Griphook to Harry. Seeing Harry treat Dobby like an equal, like a dear friend, when people like house elves, like goblins, like these other magical sentient creatures are often treated of as lesser by the wizarding community. So seeing this raw, visceral moment from Harry and having it done in private where nobody's watching, it's not for publicity, this is really who he is what causes Griphook to lead Harry and his friends to Gringotts to find the Horcrux that's hidden in there. It's not some shady deal. He doesn't do it to get the sword of Gryffindor. He does it out of respect for Harry and the respect that Harry has for all life. And it's also the inciting incident for a change of heart in Kreacher. And they cut this scene from the movie, and I really wish they would have kept it because it was such a great visual that J.K. Rowling had put into the chapter where the house elves unite and storm the castle to save Harry and his friends from the Death Eaters. It's Kreacher hearing about Dobby saving Harry and Harry's heartbrokenness and treating Dobby like a person and giving him a proper burial that really causes a change of heart in Kreacher. And then we see Kreacher leading the house elf charge at the final battle of Hogwarts with the locket that he gives him bouncing up against his chest proudly because he's just storming in there. And it was such a great visual, and it was such an emotional scene, seeing how this old, bitter, house elf who was very happy with his station in life of being a slave and wanting to perpetuate this dynamic between elves and wizards because of the charm he was under or just for how long he'd been that way. So seeing this dynamic change in a very one-dimensional character and then leading into the charge and joining a side that was, he was the house elf of the Black family. He was a house elf of Death Eaters. He was very much on the pureblood should rule, everybody should follow Voldemort's side, but begrudgingly followed Harry because he was forced to via this enslavement enchantment that the house elves are under. But he's able to free himself of that mindset and just completely join Harry's side because he sees how genuine Harry's feelings are about house elves and goblins and centaurs and whoever. They're all just people to Harry. And so he treats them all equally with the respect and dignity that they deserve. And there you have it. All of these little pieces that seemed insignificant at the time when they were cut really ultimately made Dobby's characterization fall flat. And for anyone who hadn't read the books, Dobby's death was sad, but it wasn't this monumental event that then caused significant change for multiple characters in the story and really turned the tide of the battle at the Battle of Hogwarts. So, yeah, Dobby got done dirty, and I'm still mad about it. And I'm going to die mad about it. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you really think that it was important for Dobby to be built up and then have his death be more significant? Or do you think that the way that things turned out in the movies was done well enough and got the point across? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Alrighty, my lovelies, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for sticking around for our Angry Nerd Rant. Again, be sure to hit that like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. And if you want to support more geeky content like this, be sure to check out our Patreon page. Patrons are who make this channel possible. Each donation, by month or by video, helps us produce more content like this, and it gives our patrons exclusive access to Patreon-only content, early release to videos, and a chance to vote in our polls where you get to decide the content of our next upcoming videos. For more information on that, our link will be in the description section down below. Once again, my lovelies, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Mwah.